Hello everyone. In this video, we'll be learning the second lesson of chapter 1 that's about measuring and constructing segments. Now, it's a much easier lesson because you just need to identify and look at the figure carefully and then you're done. That's it. So let's start with this. So to start with, as always, I need to tell you why you need to study this. Now, who all uses this? We can measure a segment to calculate the distance between two locations, all right? So the distance between two places or two locations, we can calculate if you are studying this. And who uses this? This distance measuring is used in many professions such as athletes. Athletes are the people who are related to sports. Engineers, land surveyors. Land surveyors are the ones who take the measurements of lands. If you are making a house and they give you the value of land, they do all these things. And also geographers. You know who are geographers? They study all about the earth. So the distance and all these things they study. So mostly everyone uses this, not only these categories of people, professions, but even we normally use. If you want to drive to a supermarket, we still calculate. If it's a bit far one, we check how many kilometers. If it's a near one, we do check. So whichever is near, we go to that. So we even use these. Okay, now the distance between any 2 points is the absolute value of the difference of the coordinates. The distance between any 2 points. Now we are relating here to the number line. So of course they will give you a number line and they will give you 2 points and they will ask you the distance from point A to point B depending on the question. So there what you need to do is we will be using the absolute value concept here. If you remember in algebra, we did this, the absolute value. So we are bringing again that concept back here in this lesson too. So this is the explanation of the lesson. Now, if you want, you can pause the video here and read it. Else, get along with me and see how you need to find the distance between the coordinates. All right. So finding the length of a segment. So this is the number line given to you. So first, the main important thing what I ask you to do is write down the coordinates of each point. Write down what is E, write down what's F, the value of each coordinate. So from the number line, we can find out that C is 2, D is 4.5, E is -4 and F is -1. Because once you do this, it will be easier. No matter whichever question they ask, we can simply refer to this values and we can solve the question. Okay, so once you have written down the values, let's look at the question. Find each length. So they want you to find the length of DC. So that's like from D to C, what's the length? So the steps first, all you need to do is put the coordinates inside the absolute value with a negative sign because we are going to subtract. To find the difference between D and C, from D to C, when you hear the word difference, you know that it means it's minus, it's subtract. So you need to find the length, that's the difference between D and C, you need to subtract. So all what you need to do is put the value of D, the coordinate of D and the coordinate of C inside the absolute value lines, a value mark and subtract it. So that gives you 4.5 minus 2 will give you a 2.5, right? So that means whichever number is inside the absolute value, that's the absolute value of 2.5 is 2.5 positive. As you know, we are calculating distances. Your distances cannot be negative. We never say walking from home to school is -10 kilometers. No, we never say -10. We say 10 kilometers. Okay, hopefully that much kilometers nobody would travels for school. Okay, so 2.5 is the distance from D to C. Rather, you could even use a number line, but then these are the steps. We are concerned about the steps. You can simply count from C to D, how many units do we have? So 2 to 3, it's 1. Then 3 to 4, it's 2. So 1, 2, and 0.5 here. So it's 2.5. But we don't use the number line to count as it's not always possible. Sometimes the number line might differ. So you need to be careful. The scale might differ. So this is a much easier way. Using absolute values is much easier way of calculating it. Okay, moving on. Let's see another example. That's EF. So the distance between EF, you know what to do. You got what to do. So EF is equal to the absolute value of -4 because E is -4 as we wrote down the values. We know E is -4 and F is -1. Now you can see negative 4 is for E. All right, this negative sign is for the question because we need to minus both the differences. We need to minus E from F. So one of this negative sign is for the question, and this negative sign belongs to F because the value of F is -1 as well. Yes, it looks of like too many negative signs, but to make sure that you have got the clear concept is why they have used parentheses, because the -1 which is inside parenthesis means that's the value of F. Also, it keeps us safe not to meddle up with all the negative signs. Like we will not get confused, so that also keeps it away from confusion. So the value of E is -4. This negative is for the question, which is we are going to subtract. And this negative sign is for the F, which means the -1. This negative is for the F. So now, as you know, negative into negative, there is no number here, means -1 multiplied by -1. That will give you a +1. So you're left with -4 plus 1. So -4 plus 1 will give you a -3. So the absolute value of -3 is going to be a +3, which means the distance between E and F is 3. If you use the number line, you can count that as well. It's 1, 2, 3. But as I always told you, you cannot simply count. You need to show the steps and prove how is it 3. All right, let's move on to one more example. As I told you, what is the first thing you need to do? Write down the coordinates. Write down the coordinates of x, y, and z. So once you write down the coordinates, we have x as 1.5, or 1.5 in decimal is 1.5. I took the decimal as it's easier to calculate. If you want to do it with fractions, please go ahead and do it. Okay, y is 5 and z is -3. So once you write down the coordinates, so let's find out the length. XY. So we need to find the values, distance of x and y. Now, what is the first thing you need to do? Write down that inside the absolute value. Now, you can do 1.5 minus 5, or you can do 5 minus 1.5. It doesn't matter unless you're subtracting it. So instead of writing 1.5 minus 5, I wrote here 5 minus 1.5. It means basically the same thing. There will be no difference. Okay, so 5 minus 1.5 will give you a 3.5. So 3.5, the absolute value of 3.5 is going to be 3.5. So the distance between x and y is 3.5. You can use the number line to calculate. That's 1, 2, 3 and 0.5. So y to x is 3.5, or x to y. It's the same. Y to x, x to y, it's all the same. Okay, xz. So what's the distance of x to z going to be? Xz going to be, so x is 1.5 and z is -3. There, when you have a -3, you need to be extra careful. As I explained you previously, you will have two negative signs. One negative is for the question, and this negative belongs to the number. So that's better always you put them inside parentheses so that doesn't confuse you. Now, what will this result in? This means there is a negative 1. There's a 1 which is invisible to us. So -1 multiplied by -3 will give us a +3. These are algebraic rules. So 1.5 plus 3 will give us an absolute value of 4.5. So that will give you the distance between x and z is 4.5. So this is how you use absolute value to find the length of segments. All right, so let's move on and practice some questions so that it will be easy for you to understand. You can practice it along with me, okay? Fine. So here, find each length. What did I ask you to do first? Always remember that you need to write down the values of these, the coordinates of these letters first. So starting with A is -2.5, B is 1, C is 3.5, and D is 5. All right, so these are the coordinates we have. Now let's move on to find the distance between A and B. So AB, put them inside absolute values. What is the coordinate for A? It's -2.5. Then we are going to subtract it, right? From b, what is b? It's 1. So now you're going to solve this. So you have two negative numbers. What's the algebraic rule if you have two negative numbers? You will add the two numbers, but you keep the negative sign. So keep the negative sign. 2.5 plus 1. Now again I'm repeating, this is algebraic rule. But the algebraic rule when you have two negative numbers is you need to add the numbers and keep the sign the same. So I kept the sign the same. Let me add this to 2.5 plus 1 is going to give me a 3.5. So the absolute value of negative 3.5 is going to be 3.5. So the distance between A and B is 3.5. You can count and find out. See, 1, 2, 3 and 3.5, 3.5. So 3.5 or 3.5. But don't count, as sometimes the scale might differ in the number line. Okay, BC. Let's find the distance from B to C. So already we have the coordinates, so it's going to be easy. So BC equals, put the absolute value line. So BC, B minus C or C minus B, it's going to be the same. So whether you write 1 minus 3.5 or you write 3.5 minus 1, there is no difference in that. 3.5 minus 1, that will give you an absolute value of 2.5. So the distance between B and C is 2.5. Even if you write 1 minus 3.5, you have to do the same, you have to subtract. So from B to C, you can see 1, 2, and 2.5. So the distance between B, C is 2.5. Hopefully that's easy, very easy, and you have understood it well. Okay, let's move to this question. Question number 11 and 12. Now this is related to your page 17 in your textbook. Okay, so the first thing first, write down the coordinates. A is 2, B is 2 over 3, C is negative 2, and D is negative 5, 1 over 4. All right, moving to the question, DB. So they want you to find the distance between D and B. So put them inside the absolute value. What is dB? D is negative 5 1 over 4 and B is 2 over 3. So whether you write negative 5 1 over 4, negative 2 over 3 or 2 over 3 minus 5 1 over 4, it's going to be the same. But let me put the bigger number first. So that's negative 5 1 over 4, negative 2 over 3. Okay, now we have to subtract the fractions. Now you know that you cannot subtract fractions how it is, because first of all this is a mixed number and this is a fraction, normal fraction. So that's one thing you cannot subtract. Second, you cannot subtract when the denominators are different. You need to make the denominators same. So to get rid of all these things, let's change this to an improper fraction first. Now an improper fraction, you know how to change a fraction to an improper fraction. This is going to be 5 1 over 4. How am I going to change this into an improper fraction? 4 5s are 20, so multiply them. 20 plus 1 is going to give you 21 over 4. Because if it's in this form, it's easy for us to subtract it. So negative, because there's a negative sign, 21 over 4 minus 2 over 3. Now still you cannot subtract it as both of them have different denominators. We need to make them the same. So to make them the same, I multiplied this fraction with 3 and this fraction with 4. So what's that going to give me? That's going to give me 63 over 12 minus 8 over 12. Okay, now that we have negative 63 over 12, negative 8 over 12, what's the next thing we are going to do? We are going to solve this. So do not forget to put the absolute value, as you know. Okay, now both of them are negative. When both of them are negative, what's the rule? You need to add them. So negative 63 and negative 8 will give me a negative 71. As usual, you don't add the denominators, because in fractions, we don't add the denominators. Let them be inside the absolute value. Now negative 71 over 12 is not a proper fraction. So we need to change that to a mixed number now. Now the reverse of this we are going to do that here. So 12 is 71 will be divided by 12. So that will give it 5 5 quotient and 11 as the remainder. Now I can write this as a mixed fraction in this way. So the quotient becomes the whole number and the remainder becomes the numerator, and the denominator remains the same because the denominator doesn't change. So which means this equals absolute value of negative 511 over 12, which means the distance between D and B is 511 over 12. Yes, it's a bit confusing because it is a fraction, but you cannot expect every time the questions will be given in the same form, right? So you need to be like familiar with solving with fractions. All right, so this is how you need to solve this question. Anyhow, you have to follow the same steps. You need to change this into an improper fraction and then subtract it. Rather, there are shortcuts, but I'm not going to teach you the shortcuts, as if you don't know the correct method, if you don't know the proper method of doing, there is no use of learning the shortcut. All right, so you can do it this way. So the distance between D and B is going to be 511 over 12. This is why I say do not count, because just think, if you would count from D to B, there is a distance here between these two, and also there is a distance here. So we exactly don't know what are the two distances. So you might go wrong there. All right. So keep this in mind. This is how you need to solve fractions. Don't forget. Okay, let's find the distance between C and D. Again, it is C and D. So I think I'll do that here rather than doing it and messing up the whole place there. Okay, so I'm finding the distance of CD. So C is -2 and D is -5 1 over 4. Now again, this minus is for the question because we need to subtract, and this is from the number. That's why we have 2. So what will that end you up with? That will end you up with negative into negative will give you a positive 5 1 over 4. Now this doesn't need much steps, as this is a -2 whole. It's a complete number. And here also we have 5 1 over 4, which basically means we just can solve the two whole numbers. So -2 plus 5 will give me 3. So your answer is going to be 3 1 over 4, which means the distance between CD is 3 1 over 4. So that we did so easily. That's because both of them are whole numbers. If you have to add a whole number to a fraction, this is what you do. You simply solve the whole numbers and then keep the other fraction the same. But if this also has a fraction, then you cannot do. Definitely you need to do a bit longer one, but this is only because it's a whole number. We could do it easily. All right, let's move on to the next part of the lesson. In this, we are going to be learning, the next part of our lesson is going to be using the segment addition postulate. Now, how are we going to use the segments to add and find out the distance? You will understand it's a more easier one, but you need to understand the question carefully. Okay, so read the question. B is a point. Okay, B is between A and C. So B is a point, A is a point, and C is a point. You know what points are. In lesson 1, we have learned what points are. So now just think, B is somewhere between A and C. So let's put that in pictures first. Draw a line. Okay, draw a line always. They're talking about some kind of lines and points. So name this point line as, first put 2 points because you're talking about segments, it's not even a line. So draw a line, draw a straight line first and then put 2 points on either ends. Now, B is between A and C. So B is between means it's somewhere here. It cannot be here or here, right? So let's name this line as A and C because B is between A and C. So B, I can say it is somewhere here. Up to you. They didn't say exactly where it is, but they said it's somewhere between. So let's name this as B. Now the first part is clear for us, right? B is between A and C. So draw a line, name the line as AC and mark anywhere in between somewhere as B. Continuing with the question, AC equals 14. So AC means from here till here it equals 14. So the whole length of the line is going to be 14. And BC is going to be 11.4. So the distance from B to C is 11.4. So you have two measurements now. You have to find AB. You have to find this distance. So because I don't know what this distance is, I name it as X. You can name it Y, you can name it A, anything you want to. So to find out the distance between A and B, of course, we have to use equations. So let's write down the equation first. So to write down the equation first, you know now by the line that this part, that's AB plus BC, will give you AC. The whole length of the line, is AC. So if you add two parts, this part and this part, you will get the whole length. So keeping this in mind, this is called the postulate. This is the theory we are going to use. So we can say that AC, that's the whole length of the line, is equal to AB plus BC. Right? Now the length of AC already they gave us as 14. And the length of AB, we named it as X because we need to find it out. And then BC is going to be 11.4. Always make the whole length of the line equal to the other parts. Now, you can solve this easily. How you would normally solve an equation. 14 minus 11.4, because the plus will become minus when you bring to the other side. So 14 minus 11.4 will give you a 3.6. You have to do decimal subtraction very carefully because it's 14.0 minus 11.4. That will give you 3.6 equals X. So the length of AB is going to be 3.6. Or simply what the main idea here is 14, the whole length is 14. You can subtract 11.4 to find the remaining part, but we need a proper way. We need proper steps for proving that X is 3.6. The length of AB is 3.6. Let's look at one more question. Now in this the picture is already given to you. Okay, you don't need to draw. E is between D and F. So D and F is going to be the length of the whole line and E is somewhere in between. So they want you to find DF. Now as you can see, they are variables. There is X's here. So whenever a question related to X comes, the first thing, not only this, anywhere you find X or Y, you find the value of this X first. Without finding the value of X, we cannot do anything. So let's find the value of X first. So for that, we need to write the equation. As I told you, always make the whole length, that's DF, equals the remaining two parts. So I can say DF equals DE plus EF because that's the two parts of the line. So DF is 6x and DE is 3x minus 1. EF is 13. So DE 3x minus 1 plus 13. Now you would solve how you would normally solve an equation. Before that, you can simplify this side. 13 minus 1 will give you a 12. Plus 1 minus 1 plus 13 will give you a plus 12. So move the 3 to the other side. That will give you 6x minus 3x. That will give you 3x equals 12. X is equal to 4. We found the value of X. I keep on repeating, find the value of the variable first. Now let's find DF. What is the length of DF? They gave the length of DF to be 6x. So all you need to do is substitute the value of X in place of X. So the value of X is 4. 6x means 6 multiplied by 4. So the length of DF is 24. Hopefully with some more practice, definitely you will get it. So let's start practicing. Okay, this is question number 6 from page 17, same page. You're only doing the same page, okay? B is between A and C. So first let me put that into a picture so that everyone can understand what we are doing. So first, draw a line, draw 2 points, okay? What am I going to name these true points as? Am I going to name it A and B or A and C? I'm going to name it A and C because they said B is between A and C. So B I can draw anywhere. You can also draw anywhere, but make sure it's not right in center. Okay, now let's move on with the question. AC is 15.8. So the length from A to C is, the whole length of the line is 15.8. It's always better to draw because our brain tends to understand pictures more than words or listening. Okay, so 15.8. And AB is 9.9. So from A to B, it is 9.9. So this whole length is 9.9. Let's find BC. So you have to find BC. Now, as you know, BC, we don't know what BC is. So let's name it as X. Or if you want to name it as Y, you can name it as Y or D or B, whatever you want. Okay. So this is our picture. So let's find out what is AB. So first we need to write the equation. How am I going to write the equation? Of course, I need to first write the whole length. That's I'm going to write it. AC is equal to what? The two parts. What are the two parts of this line? AB plus BC. Okay. AC is 15.8. So just write the values right under them. AC is 15.8. Why has it come so thick? Okay. Equals AB, which is AB, 9.9 plus BC. What is BC? It is X. Okay, my handwriting is going not straight. 15.8 equals 9.9 plus X. Okay. So all what you need to do is move the variables, keep the variables on one side and keep the numbers on other side. Now I'm not going to detailedly explain all the steps of solving an equation. Already we know enough about solving equations, but I would rather show you properly, that's because it's the first question, how to subtract decimals. Write the decimals right under each other and then place the numbers properly. So that will leave us with a 9 here because this becomes 18 and this becomes 14. So 14 minus 9 will give you a 5.9. So the value of x is 5.9, which means the length of BC is 5.9. Easy, right? Once you draw the picture, definitely your brain will try to understand the picture and you can start solving it. Let's go to question number 7. Find MP. It's always better you do it by yourself. So you can pause the video here, do it, and then you can check the answer with the explanation. So it will be a great step if you try to do it alone. So do it alone and then check your answer. I would rather continue the video, but you can pause and do it and then check it. So we need to find the distance from M to P. MP. Okay. So first understand the picture. M to P, they have given the whole length is 5y plus 9. M to N is 17, N to P is 3y. So let's write the equation first. So to write the equation, as I always said, write the whole length, that's MP equals the two parts of the line, MN plus NP. The two parts are MN and NP, right? So MP is 5y plus 9. That's what they gave us. MP is 5y plus 9 equals MN is 17 plus 3y. Now we are working with variables. You need to find the value of y first. So move the variables and move the numbers. So that will leave you with So that gave us y is equal to 4. Now once you have found that y, the value of y, you can find anything you want, any distance you want to. So let's find the length of MP. So MP, they gave us MP is 5y plus 9, which means in place of y we substitute 4, and in place of y we substitute 4, so 5 multiplied by 4 plus 9, so that will give you a 20 plus 9, which is going to give you a 29. Or if you want to use another method, what you can do is find the length of NP. So NP means you multiply 3 with 4, 12. So the distance of NP is 12. Distance of MN is 12. So you can find the length of the whole line by adding 17 plus 12. That will also give you a 29. However, there are many ways to do math. It's not only you have to stick to one way. It depends on which way you choose, but it should be the correct way. Okay. So MP is equal to 29. Moving to another question. Now here we of course need to draw a picture. So K is the midpoint of segment JL. So let me draw a line. Let me name it as, what am I going to name this as? KL or JL? I'm going to name it as JL because see, they gave us already the segment is JL. And K is the midpoint. Now this word here, midpoint, means exactly in middle. The point exact. Okay, so midpoint means the point exact in middle. I forgot to write here point. So it should be somewhere exactly in between. So this is how I could find. Maybe it's not correct, but it's just a rough picture. So try your best to be accurate as possible. Okay, so now let's write down the number, the values of the the distance. JL, that's the whole length. JL is 4x minus 2. So the distance of the whole line, the length of the whole line is 4x minus 2. JK is 7. So J to K is 7. So this part is 7. Find x. So we need to find three things here. Find x, find KL, and find JL. So of course, for now to write an equation, I need to have this remaining part. So let me name that part also as x. Okay. Now, first write the equation. So JL is going to be JL is going to be equal to JK plus KL. So JL is 4x minus 2. We have to, of course, find the value of x first. JK is 7 plus KL is x. Okay. So 4x minus x is going to be 7 plus 2. 3x is going to be 9. X is going to be 9 divided by 3. So the value of x is 3. So we found the value of x. This is done. Value of x is 3. Now let's find the length of KL. So KL, already we named KL as x. So if x is equal to 3, we can also say KL is also equal to 3 because KL is, in another word, x. So x value is 3. So the distance between K and L is 3. Then let's find the value of the distance of JL. JL. Now there are two ways to do it. You know the distance between J and K is 7. K and L is 3 because the value of X they gave us as 3. Okay. You can add both of them. That's one way to do it. So let me show you that way. As you know, JL is going to be JK plus KL. So JK is 7, KL is 3, so JL is going to be 10. This is one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is you can simply substitute the value of x, that's we got it as 3 in place of x, so that's going to give you 12 minus 2, which is also going to be 10. So as I told you, many ways to do, up to you which way to choose. Nobody can say this is correct, this is wrong. No, both the ways are correct. We are only concerned about the answer and the way we got it. If both of them are correct, we don't need to bother which way is correct or which way is wrong. Both of them are correct. So it depends on how you judge the picture, whether you want to add both of them or you want to substitute the value of x and then find out the value of JL. It's the same. Okay, one more question. E bisects. Now again, there is a new word here for you. The word bisect. Okay, the word bisect. Bi means two and sect means parts. So bisect means divide in two equal parts. Exact two equal parts. Okay, so let's draw the picture. Remember, bisect means divide into two equal parts. So E bisects DF. Let me name this as D and F. And bisect means exactly in two parts. So I can say E is somewhere in this because it should divide the line into equal parts. DE is 2y. So they gave us DE. D to E is 2y. And E to F is 8y minus 3. So here they did not give us the whole length of the line. Why is that? Because we have equal two parts. So equal two parts in the sense DE is equal to EF. That's because E has divided both into two equal parts. So for this kind of questions, our equation is going to be DE equals EF. That's because we have two equal parts. You know, this part is equal to this part. All right. So DE is 2y and EF is 8y minus 3. So that's going to be 2y minus 8y equals negative 3 minus 6y equals negative 3. Now both of them have negative, so we can cancel them off. Y is going to be 3 divided by 6. Now we need to simplify as we cannot divide 3 by 6, so we need to simplify. So that's going to give you y is equal to 1/2. Okay, now we know the value of y. We are almost done with half of the question. We are going to find DE. So the value of DE is 2y. So we know the value of half y, that's 2 multiplied by half. So 2 multiplied by half is 1. Easy. Find what's half of 2. Even if you do the proper way, you're going to get the answer as 1. So we can mentally do it. Half of 2 is 1, right? Now DE is 1. Let's find EF. Now EF, you can do two ways. You can solve with the value of y, that's half of 8, then minus it with 3. That will give you the answer. Or we can also say, because DE and EF are equal, EF is also going to be 1. Why did we say EF is also equal to 1? Because DE is equal to EF. That's what the equation we wrote. So either you multiply 8 with half and minus with 3, you will get the answer as 1. Or you simply say E is equal to F, E and F is equal to D and E. That's going to be the same. So EF is also going to be 1. Let's find the distance between D and F. So D and F is DE plus EF, right? DE plus EF is the total length of DEF. So this is going to be DE is 1, EF is 1. So the total length of DF is going to be 2. All this we just did to get this number 2. Okay, but that's math. Fine. Let's find this answer quickly. D is between C and E. Now they did not say us midpoint, neither did they say it is bisect. So it doesn't need to be exact in between. So it's between C and E. So D can be anywhere. Okay. CE is 17.1. So DE is 17.1. The whole length of this thing is 17.1. DE is 8. So we need to find this. Find CD. So let's name it as X. This part as X. Okay, so first let's write the equation. Now by now you must be very familiar on how to write these equations. CE, that's the total length of the line, is equal to CD plus DE. So which means 17.1 equals CD, that which we don't know is X. DE is 8. So 17.1 minus 8 is going to be equal to X. So how much is 17.1 minus 8? 17.1 minus 8. 8 means it's 8.0. So this is going to give you a 9.1. Okay, 9.1. So 9.1 equals X. So the distance between CD is 9.1. CD equals 9.1. It's easy. Once you start practicing, everything becomes easy. Okay, this last question here. You have to find Mn. Mn. So let's write the equation first. Always start by writing the equation. Mr equals Mn plus Nr. Okay. Mr is f5x minus 3 equals 2.5x plus x. Because Nr already they gave us as x. Now, all what you need to do is solve them. Now, as you can see, there are two x's, 2.5x and x. So what does it mean 2.5? What does it mean if x is alone? X is alone means there is always a 1. So 2.5, I did not write x here. 2.5x plus x, right? Now x is alone means it's a 1. So 2.5x plus 1x will give you 3.5x. Right, so let's solve that part first. If you want, you can move everything to the other side and start solving it. There is nothing wrong. So let me move them to one side. So negative 3 equals 3.5x minus 5x, or you can even write this as 5x minus 3.5x equals 3. Now you might wonder, where did the negative sign go from the 3? Because it's a negative 3. When the negative 3 moves to the other side of the equation, it would have become a positive. That's why I wrote here without changing it. Okay, so negative 3 is going to be equal to, now 5 minus 3.5. You know 5 means it's a 0. So that's going to give you a 1.5. Because this will become 10, this will become 4, so 1.5. That's going to be negative 1.5x. So negative will get cancelled. So you're left with x is equal to 3 divided by 1.5. How do you divide 3 by 1.5? Remember, the decimal will move away. So here there is no decimal, which means you need to add a 0. So finally you will be left with 15. 30 divided by 15, which is of course a 2, which means x is equal to 2. Okay, hopefully this part is clear. Now this part, even if you solve, you're going to get the same answer. There's not going to be any change. Okay, now once that we have found the value of x, that's 2, let's find the value of mn. So mn is 2.5x. mn is equal to 2.5x, which means 2.5 multiplied by 2. So how much is 2.5 multiplied by 2? Now this is mental math. It's 5. 2.5 will give you a 5. So the distance between m and n is the distance between m and n is 5. I know this video is a bit longer. That's because I have explained the whole lesson together rather than in parts, because it's a quite easy lesson. Only you need to picture the number line and picture the line or the question, put them in pictures so that we can do that easily. Hopefully you have understood this video. If you have understood, do like and ask your friends, whoever is having the same lessons, to watch the video, so that will be helpful for them too. So till we meet again in another video, keep practicing math.